going. Yep. All right. I'm about to share my screen and we're going to talk about getting rich this year. So let's do that. If I share my screen. Okay. All right, great. Here we go. All right, we get to talk about one of my favorite things, and that's about building our businesses and really setting us up for funding to come in and not just little trickles in, but like some big money this year. So tonight we're going to be talking about things about like why tuition is just not the only type of sustainable income. Like we got a lot of stuff going on right now, like nationally and even just at our state level, that's kind of like making some things uncertain. We're going to talk about different forms of wealth. I like to call them solid, liquid, and gas, and we'll get more into that. We're going to talk about some revenue streams that you can start building just this year. We're going to talk about a 30-day action plan. And then at the end, we'll chat about some coaching if you're looking for a little more one-on-one besides, these sessions. So we all know right now costs are rising, right? There's this pressure for us to pay our teachers more, which I'm here for. I'm really trying to push them into that $20 or more mark, depending on, leadership and responsibilities and all of that sort of thing. But at the same time, the childcare scholarship freeze in, Maryland, I think that has stalled some things. I think things like having free pre-K through the public school system, Head Start programs, things like that, which all of those are great and convenient for families, but we all know that it's pulling the older kids out of our childcare centers and, kind of really pushing us to just focus on infants, which we know is a lot of money to just take babies. And if all we did was take infants, like 3 infants, that's not enough to pay a staff for a classroom. So we're all kind of feeling this pressure to pay more, charge less. And then at the same time, they're all actively pulling kids and funneling them into the public school system. So this is why tuition alone can be really risky, because stuff like this happens. And I do think nationwide there's trends, right? And I do think at some point, I'm really hoping at the federal level that there will be more conversation about whether it is universal childcare or something to empower the small business instead of, just putting money into public school. Let the early childhood folks handle it. Like let the small businesses handle it, because we've been doing it for years. So I'm real interested to see how all that's going to go. But in the meantime, what other types of income can we be cultivating actively so we're not stressing out when they pause the vouchers? Or like I lost a family of 5 in the last 2 weeks. She had 5 kids and she quit her job. And I gave her about a week to kind of, are you going to find another job? Any of that? And she's like, no, I'm going to stay home. And I'm like, okay, great. I love that for you. But, I can't stress out and panic when I lose a big family like that. 5 tuitions is 5 tuitions. So this is the shift that I know I definitely needed. And I probably made this shift back in 2022, the end of 2022. I really had to start thinking about my child care center like a business. It's not just a daycare. And I understand when it comes to early childhood, we have licensing, right? We have parents, they can get very passionate about their kids, as they should. But sometimes that stuff can keep our attention and we're not thinking about all these other ways that we can generate income. If you've been on these calls with me before, we've talked about different ways to cultivate stuff. But tonight, as we start this new year, I really want us to start taking it a lot more seriously and dedicate a lot of time each week to making sure that we are creating these other ways for money to come into our center. So while it's not childcare, I love the Amazon example. We all know Amazon. When I was in college, early 2000s, that's where I was buying my textbooks for cheap. I remember they would have like novels for a penny, and I just thought, oh, wow, cheap stuff. I love it. And now, people are buying groceries. They're getting their pharmaceuticals. They're visiting doctors. They might even have like a vet service. It wouldn't surprise me. And then they have the whole like entertainment end where it's like Netflix, and they have their own TV shows and movies and all of that. And it's like, oh my goodness. And then you have the devices, right? You have the Alexas, you have all those different things. The video ones, the one that you can just play music, just they have so many different types of, revenue. And then they have their own, like, their shipping, they have their own drivers and all of that. So like they're not even giving money to UPS. Like they have it all. And I really think that, again, while this is not childcare, I need you to understand, we all need to understand the value of just saying, hey, let's take a look at our entire customer and see all the other ways that we can serve them. Because at first they were just selling us books. And then they said, hey, you know what? We can sell stuff. I remember I used to go on eBay for things. I don't go on eBay anymore. I go to Amazon because I can get brand new stuff. I can probably get a better price. As a business owner, the subscriptions, like we have our Diaper Genie refills that come on subscription, wipes, cleaner, just things that I don't have to send somebody to the store for. So they really thought about not just the individual, they thought about the family. How can they make it convenient? I even like that I can ask Alexa to just like order things. Hey, Alexa, order new, cleaning pads for the little Swiffer thing. And she's like, okay, great. And she'll send it. Like, I love what Amazon has become. So I want us to be thinking about, when we are thinking about our families, how else can we serve that family until adulthood, until young adulthood? And we'll dive into a little bit more about that's kind of the model where we've been taking. So now I want to talk about this idea of wealth being in three forms. All right. So we know water has, solid, liquid, and gas, right? H2O, right? And I want you to be thinking about that when it comes to your wealth. So our solid stuff is the stuff we have, like the physical, tangible things. Grab a little sip, sorry. So your building, even if you rent it, it's still an asset. And we'll dive into that a little bit. And again, we've talked about some of this stuff before. The materials you have, the classrooms, the individual rooms, your playground equipment. If you have a van, like these are all, and even your team, having like adults that are professionals and can work with kids, all of those are assets. All right. And so I want you to be thinking about, with your solid assets, is there anything that you have that's kind of underused? I don't know if she'll hop on tonight, but we have one of my clients, she has a van, and during the day that van sits empty and undriven. And so, just having a talk with her about, well, what could you be doing with that van on the weekends, evenings, and during the day while the kids are at daycare? All they're doing is before and after school runs. And they might not even do before school runs. They might just pick the kids up after school. So to have something like a van or a bus, definitely an underused asset. So those would be like kind of more the obvious things that if you were going to quickly try to capitalize and bring in some money, these are some of these things. Then you have your liquid stuff, okay? These are the things that we already know are wealth. That's like the no-brainer one. The cash in the bank, the checks that come in from the scholarships, any credit cards that you might have, like where if you've got $1,000 or $5,000 limit, I would count that as liquid wealth. It's something that you could use right now to buy what you need. If you do get grants, contracts, things like that, that's the liquid money that is coming into your business. So now we get to the gas form. So just hear me out. All right. These are those ideas that you have talked about. You've chatted with your staff about, you have talked with your spouse about, you maybe have thought about it here on one of these calls. Different skills that you have that you acquired over time, whether it's management or curriculum development, even something as simple as creating bulletin boards and lesson plans. These are all things that you could at some point turn into like a liquid asset, if that makes sense, or a solid or liquid asset that could bring in revenue. And this one sometimes can be challenging because it's hard for some folks to take the ideas and make them happen because we're so focused on, licensing and staffing and people calling out and all of those things. But I'm telling you, we got to prioritize some of these things because the ideas you have, those are all valuable. The skills you have, those are all valuable. And if you can get a system in place to kind of take some of that gas and kind of liquefy it, if that makes sense, so that you can start generating some money, that's where we want to get. So these are some ideas that we have talked about on other calls if you have been rocking with me for a while. I love the idea of indoor playgrounds, right? You don't have to do anything extra. Those little kids would have no problem coming in and playing in your kitchen sets, playing with the Play-Doh, so just a few hours a week could generate some revenue, and it's stuff you guys already have. So you might have to work an extra 2 hours, or let's say, you have a floater and you don't have 40 hours for her. Maybe she just kind of comes in during lunchtime, however your center is run. Or maybe you have a great substitute and you'd really like to give them some more hours. This might be a way that you guys can both win. I saw a daycare in our area is doing a parent night out for Valentine's Day. When it comes to like weekend activities and things, think about the kids that have aged out of your program. What are some things those parents could use? Parents are looking for things to do with their kids, and especially if they have kids that are like under the age of 5. In my area, they take their kids to Chuck E. Cheese, and it's overrun by big kids, and it's loud. And then you have the trampoline park, which is overrun by big kids, and it's loud, and it can get expensive. What's another place? Oh, the zoo, or we have a zoo with a playground with it, where I live. But same deal. That's the complaint I hear from parents is there's so many big kids that there's maybe 2 or 3 like little swings, and they're always taken. It's just super crowded. And so what if it was a ticketed event, limited, small group, have a couple, get a cup of coffee, have some waters, and let the kids play. And we've been doing this actually on Fridays at my center, and we aren't charging anything. We're just kind of feeling everybody out. We actually got some grant funding to pay for some of it, so that was beautiful too, and we'll talk about that a little later. But that was something that the parents in my area were looking for, and they aren't necessarily my parents, but families have come, and it actually led to a lead for a parent looking for part-time care. So whether it's that immediate, they're going to pay tuition, or it's just a way to keep your wait list up, that might be something as well. Because even parents that aren't looking for full-time care might be part-time. They might want to bring a couple days a week. That might be something you're open to, especially if you have classrooms that are, losing folks. And I did the homeschool enrichment. So we're talking about the kids, like once they kind of age out. Even if it's not your kids, just be thinking about that age group. I have parents that call me looking for homeschool activities because they know that we're closed during the day, and we've been offering some day programming to different ages. And they're like, hey, what can we do for homeschool kids? So that's definitely something we have on the agenda for our plan for 2026. All right. So this is just the open play sample. I'll kind of let you read it, but you might think to yourself, oh, $560, would that be enough to maybe cover insurance, right? Would that be just enough to, if you did that for the course of a year, by the end of the year, you'd have a nice little nest egg. And we're just talking about 2 sessions per week, so just something so small like that. And I picked $7. There's an indoor playground girl that I follow on TikTok. Let me grab a drink of soda, sorry. And she charges $7 for a 2-hour block. She also has a coffee shop. That's her whole thing. But she's paying rent and she's paying all these other things. And it's just well, if you already have a childcare center, you're already paying rent, you're already paying insurance, you're already doing all these things. You're just doing this when you guys are closed. So other than paying a staff to run it, you ultimately are, profiting all that. And if you're open to it, you can be the person that goes and runs it. You don't have to pay somebody else. You could do it. $560 a month to do 2 extra nights a week. Could that start to put a dent or start putting some savings? Could that be something that would be worth your time? So when I talk about gas, assets, the skills, the ideas, these are just some ideas that maybe you could put together. I know in Maryland right now, there's kind of a freeze with people becoming trainers, but that's where if you made a professional development where, folks in the state could do your class and essentially get those, those credit hours that they need for every year. But, I'll talk about networking, and I'm gonna talk about a little bit more as we get to the end, or, go through this presentation tonight. Just because you're not a registered trainer doesn't mean you couldn't partner up with somebody throughout the year, build that trust, build that connection, and say, hey, I've got some ideas what are your thoughts? You know, and you guys partner together and you essentially could kind of use their trainer license. They would be the lead trainer and you would just kind of be the person that collaborates. And I believe you guys can present together without you having one. You would just kind of fall under them, I believe. But anyway, these might be things. I know centers they're looking for behavior management. You know, they're looking for staff development, like building rapport amongst the staff. So like the cattiness isn't there. Like these are some things, like if you don't have those issues in your center, sell that skill, you know, whether it's a newsletter, whether it's a workbook or something, you know, kind of figure out how you could package it, spend some time marketing and spend some time building those relationships and that trust, whether you're making social media content, whatever it is, like there is a way to monetize the things that you do well. So this is just another kind of little list of different products. I kind of talked on them some already, but like I love the idea of the community membership for families where you could have, you know, little chat and choose, something where parents can learn some information, whether it's about, you know, potty training or handling tantrums. Even if you want to pepper things in there that aren't necessarily early childhood specific. So like, for instance, I had a meeting with our legal aid nonprofit that we have down here. And we are going to put together a trust fund baby event where they're going to come and they're going to be talking with the families about trusts and wills. And then that can ultimately funnel them, depending on their income, into the legal aid where they can get a free will, or we can, you know, refer them out to a lawyer office to try to get something like that together. So kind of like a learning annex where they pay, I don't know, for a family, maybe they pay $50 a month. They can come to 2, you know, play things a week. And, you know, you have some of these like guest speakers come in and provide high value information for your families. Like really, we can start thinking out of the box. You know, they're just ideas, right? And you may be the only person in daycare or childcare who's ever had this idea. This could be something that makes you guys unique. This could be something that not only is going to bring wealth with cash, but it's going to build professional respect. It's going to position you in the community. And as we dive more into networking, like all that stuff is super valuable. Because honestly, it's me going out here networking, going to these different events. That's how I met the legal aid person. Because why else would I have met a legal aid person? Like they're not going to be at, you know, early childhood events. So super valuable. All right, so now we're going to get into my favorites. Now I'm going to get into the water now. And some of you guys have been rocking with me for maybe 2 years talking about grants. And I don't hear a lot of folks coming back to me and saying, hey, I got one. So I am hoping that 2026 is going to be the year that you see how important grant funding and partnerships can be for your childcare center. In 2025, between my childcare center, I don't know why that popped up, sorry. Between my childcare center and my nonprofit organization, we pulled in over $250,000 last year in grant funding. So this had nothing to do with, this is not a pre-K grant. This was not a therapeutic childcare grant. We actually didn't even get that grant this year. They reduced the funding and they prioritized medically fragile kids, and our program was more of a mental health behavioral, so we did not get the funding. So this is different types of funding that we were able to get in 2025. But I applied for over 100 grants last year, and I only got 6. But those 6 were for over $250,000. So when I tell you there is money out there, but you have to be consistently applying for them. So these are some things that we've been able to use our grant money for. So when I say staffing support, I've been able to send folks to trainings. We've been able to get some nice certifications when it comes to classroom management. We've been able to go to some amazing conferences. We went to Disney this year. We went to Disney this year and last year. So, you know, now I'm like, okay, well, what do I got to do for us to go this year? I'm having 2 babies in March. So I'm not super, like, we're not going to go anywhere this spring, but, you know, I'm definitely looking for maybe the fall, winter, you know, we'll see. But some of the grants we've been able to get, youth programs, I'm going to dive into those in a bit. Yeah, family engagement. And then we're expanding, we're moving. So these are all wonderful things that we've been able to do. But I note long-term funding. I have people ask me all the time, Amy, I need money for a playground. Amy, I need money to keep the lights on. I need money for staffing. And I'm like, you need to call your bank. The grants, that's not something I can help you with when it comes to you needing money in 60 days. Now, you want to be funded by the end of the year. You want to hear something back by December, by September. This time next year, I'm your girl. That's where we're talking about long-term funding. So I know sometimes networking can kind of go on the back burner because, you know, we need to keep the center open, right? We need to make sure we have staffing patterns, and the fire inspector could come in. And did we write down the last time we had the fire, what's it called? The fire drill. So networking is something that we don't always see the immediate return on our investment, but networking is kind of like, buying into the stock market. Like, you're not going to spend a whole lot of money at first. It's not going to feel like you're making an investment, but you just got to continue to nurture the relationships and watch it grow. Not every relationship is going to be a good return on your investment. There are definitely folks that I thought was going to be a great business partnership, and they turned out to be unprofessional. They'd show up late. It took forever for me to get invoices. And it's just, I don't have to put up with that. So, we wrap things up professionally, and then I move on and find somebody else. And I'm always actively looking for partners. So these are some places that if you're like, Amy, I don't even know where to go for networking, this is exactly where I would go. Like, this little list right here, take a screenshot. If you're like the video, write it down, whatever, you're going to get a copy of all this. But this is exactly where I would start going. School board meetings. I go to, excuse me, I'm sorry, between the water and the Coke. School board meetings. Anybody that has to do with education in your community is going to be there. And I would go and I would wear something branded with your daycare on it. I would go look maybe with a blazer, a t-shirt and a blazer or something. Makeup, you know what I mean? Hair, like, be camera ready, because what if something controversial comes up, which it may. The news shows up to these things, and they are going to pull somebody to get their 2 cents, and they could pull you, and you have your daycare on there, and all of a sudden, boom, you're featured on the news. That has happened to me before, and you want to be ready. You don't want to, I don't want to be on camera. Show up like somebody important is going to want to talk to you about it. That the high value places to show up, and keep showing up and keep showing up. And you're going to learn the faces. You're going to learn the names. You're going to learn the strategies. And more importantly, you're going to learn where the money is going. Okay. You're going to learn what are the problems that public school is having that you can be a solution to. Okay. Because if we can think outside the box of childcare, you're still an educator, right? So what else can we be offering that public school cannot offer right now? Okay. You can offer a smaller classroom environment, right? You could offer after school tutoring. You could offer weekend enrichment activities. You could offer parent study support to help parents, help with homework, so they can do some of these things at home. Those are just some things that I hear at different meetings when I go, and I'm thinking, how can I be a solution to that problem? Did I just skip everything? Oh, we did that one. We did that one. Okay. Doop, 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 doop. Come on, Amy. Okay. So I'm actually going to go back here for a minute, and I'm going to share some, just some wins for us for 2025 when it comes to the importance of networking. So one of the grants that we were able to get is a grant through our county to offer mental health assessments for kids birth to 5, as well as offer play groups. Earlier, I said that we were being able to offer play groups on Fridays. Now, again, we're evening overnight, so we have them during the day, but that doesn't mean y'all couldn't offer them in the evening. Like, I wish that we could offer some in the evening right now. We're trying to work with the library to be able to use their space. And because it's free, they're going to let us use the library, but, it'd be nice to have it at our center. But parents especially the parents that work day jobs, they want to take their kids someplace too. And often they miss things. So if there's play groups at the library, they're most likely missing it. If there's play groups at the Judy Center, if you're in Maryland and you have a Judy Center in your area, they're probably missing out on that. If they don't live in the area of the Judy Center and they don't have a Judy Center in their school district, they can't go, so there are families that are missing out on these things. So anyway, back to this grant, we didn't apply for it at first. And I happened to bump into somebody at National Night Out, and they said, hey, did you notice that they put the bid back out? And you know what? I just followed the directions. I applied, and it was a bid. So I tried to be, smart. I think we came under maybe like $15,000 of like what the cap was. We had a plan. We had, partners with, signed MOUs. If you don't know what MOU is, look it up. And we were able to apply, and it gave my business, my for-profit business, this opportunity to offer this additional layer, not just to our current parents, our current kids, but to community kids. And from a business perspective, that's a way to get people in the door. There are so many parents that have come to our play groups and said, I didn't even know you guys were here. I didn't even know that there was evening overnight childcare, right? I didn't know you guys offered 4-hour part-time blocks. I didn't know you guys did, I could just use you one day every now and then. Oh, I had no idea that I could drop my kids off on a Friday night and come back and pick them up Saturday morning. Like, I didn't know that we had all of these things. So, and then with this grant, we have money to market it. So I have money to literally tell people about this amazing program at my childcare center. So am I specifically and exclusively marketing my childcare center with these grant funds? No, I am marketing activities at my center that have to do with the mental health assessments and have to do with the play groups and all of that. And it's getting people in the door. So, but that came up because of networking. Because it was such a local grant, that is something that they do look at. They do look at your community presence. They look at kind of like your community resume. Does she show up for stuff? Like I was at the library today. We were at a Judy Center ribbon cutting last Friday. I mean, when I tell you, we were on the radio on Sunday. Like when I tell you we were out here promoting what we're doing, we were out here. And the local, board, like they saw that. And I do know that actually counted when it came to whether or not we were going to get something like this, because they want to see that we're out here. They don't want just some little, somebody who's not actively in the community, getting money like this, because again, it was to serve the community. What was another one? Okay. I'll go back up here to long-term, the youth program. Okay. Another grant that we were able to get for the for-profit business was through the Safer, Stronger Together program. And that's the state of Maryland. They picked Salisbury, Baltimore, and Hagerstown, those three communities. And they gave a bunch of grassroots organizations, money. So we were able to snag a 6-figure grant. And what we're doing with that is we're teaching, youth and teens about entrepreneurship and financial literacy. That's one leg of the program. And you may think, well, Amy, you're in childcare. What does financial literacy have to do anything? I'm also a business owner. I'm also an entrepreneur. And then mix that with the educator piece. And I used to teach middle and high school. So like, it's really, I'm excited to get back around some of the older kids. We started last night with a local nonprofit. We are going to them. We're using their space. We brought snacks. And, I'll be working with young girls about how to build a business, not just any business. It's a babysitting boot camp. So it's going to start from there. But then we're like, hey, we can also do like a dance company boot camp. You want to open a dance company and work with the young girls who are in dance company, whether they want to be costume designers or they want to be a choreographer, just really getting kids to, just take their passions and turn it into a career. And so we wrote a grant for that, and it's paying for stuff. It's paying for me to go do it. It's paying for all the materials. We were able to buy a bunch of child development, tools, those little baby think it overs, the ones that cry, they have the little key and you got to feed them and all of that. And those are expensive. And we were able to get some of those things. And, the program, we're halfway through the year, and we're going to be working with the local school district. So like all of these things kind of unfolded because of our networking. So again, I know it's going to feel like you're not going to prioritize it because you don't think it's not giving you a quick return on your investment. But when I tell you I've been doing some of this stuff since 2020, when they were giving away food, like they were doing all the COVID food giveaways, I was out there with my little table telling people about childcare scholarships, telling people about Night Watch. And now I'm out here telling people about our assessments. I'm telling people about our nonprofit organization. So, it never stopped. Just my message is amplified a lot faster because I've built up this network, and people trust us, and people will send us resources. They'll send us kids. They're willing to partner with us. And then, again, it's just another, like, I'm not just looking at tuition checks. I've got, 5 other grant programs that are actively sending us money. So I've mentioned this before. I love to put my year into quarters. Quarter two, having babies. So fitting as much in as possible in quarter one and really just gearing up for quarter three and quarter four. So I would just encourage you to, and when the replay comes out, you will get your workbook, but I want you to think about just one thing that you can pilot this year. You know, is it going to be where you're going to use an asset, you know, your solid asset, whether it's your building or your van or whatever, to bring in some more money? Are you really ready to take a look at the gas assets, your ideas and all, and bring that into something, whether it's networking or a grant opportunity, something, and try to monetize it that way? And then quarter two, improve on it. Get ready to market it. Network. Start telling people about what you're doing. And then the next one is quarter three. Let's start pursuing some funding. If you're actively networking, quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, you're going to have some grants that you can apply for. And some of these bigger grants, they've already published them. They're just going to be due in a couple of months. And I like the idea of you guys having something that is due in a few months so that you really can take some time with it and think about, okay, if I'm going to apply for this grant, who do I need to be around? I'm looking at 4 different grants right now. And they're all multiple year grants, but I know I need partners, specific partners. There's one in particular it's like a youth workforce development, right? Would be right up my alley with some of the other work we're doing. But they have to, it has to do with construction. Like they have to get construction experience. And I'm like, of course, at a childcare center, how would that help? But in the community, now I'm like, okay, where's Habitat for Humanity? I know that lady. And I'm looking at my calendar and I want to say beginning of March, before I have these babies, they have their big fundraiser. So it's going to be my priority to try to set up a meeting with this lady between now and then to see if it's something we can partner with and that we could get young adults into this program and get them over to Habitat for Humanity that they can get some construction experience. Right. So just kind of thinking about, larger projects and things. And again, that's why I'm like, I love this strategy, but it does take time, like, again, applying, waiting, and then quarter four is scale back and get ready for 2027 because, that's what we got to be thinking ahead. So I wish this would stop jumping in. Okay. All right. So I would just really encourage you to just set up a 30-day plan. You want to start February 1st? Well, I guess February doesn't have 30 days, but you know what I mean. And these are the things that I want you to kind of go along with. It's a consistency game. It's the same reason, like, people lose a bunch of weight and you're like, oh, how did you do it? You already know how they did it. They went to the gym, they ate better. They cooked at home, like they were just consistent. And at some point, they look up and 50 pounds is gone. 100 pounds is gone. It wasn't because they, had 2 salads and went on the treadmill for 8 minutes. They, every day they were doing something. And so when folks ask me, well, how did you get, $300,000 in grants last year? I applied for 100 of them. That's how. How are you, how'd you get on the radio? Because I've been networking with these people for 5 years. They've been seeing me. So it was a no-brainer to say, hey, can I get on the radio this weekend? Absolutely. Come on in. And we got a little 10-minute, 15-minute interview, got some clips. We've been using it on social media, got to get the word out. People are messaging like, hey, I saw your interview. But it takes time. So, all right. So those of you, I've gotten some emails, I've gotten some messages about, hey, Amy, when are we starting the grant stuff back up? So I did want to kind of go over this with you guys. So this is my coaching program that I have. I am opening back up. I had stopped it, I think maybe in October, November, something like that. Took the winter off. So that was a group coaching program. So now we're stepping into one-on-one. I've got some folks that are like, hey, I need you to help me with my center. So this is where we're going to be having some more one-on-one stuff. So this is what everything includes. So you get a one-on-one call with me once a month, and we kind of map out your next 30 days. And when I say map out your next 30 days, we're looking at partnerships. We're looking at events you need to go to. We talk about your networking strategy. Like, where are you going? I want to find out what's going on. How did it go? Did you get on the news? Did you meet anybody? The other part is that you get 2 group Q&As once a month. All right. So it's going to be other folks Bring your questions. This is not me doing anything for you. I'm here to walk beside you, provide the resources, but ultimately you are the one that's going to be doing the work, just like a trainer would be. I can't do the workouts for you. I can only provide you, the troubleshooting and the guidance. I'm going to be giving you 2 grant opportunities each month. This is custom. I'm not sending the same thing to everybody. It's kind of based off what you and I are talking about in our one-on-ones. So I've got some clients who want to have like a free store in the community. They just want to have a place where parents can come and get groceries. They can get baby stuff. Like that's really like their heart. I'm somebody who wants to have like a learning hub. Like I want young parents, especially teen parents, to be able to come and finish their high school diploma and bring the kids. Like that really is my passion right now. I'm very passionate about bringing more mental health and behavioral health stuff to my area. I've got families driving 2 and 3 hours across the bridge to go to Kennedy Krieger and things like that. And I'm like, we need stuff here on the shore. So that's where my head is. So that's the type of grants I'm looking for. They're going to be grants that are due 6 to 12 months out. And the reason why I picked them so far out is because I am sure that many of you are going to need grant partners. Okay. Whether it's a mental health person, maybe it's a youth serving organization or a homeless serving youth, organization, like whatever it is that we talk about in the one-on-one calls of the type of problem you want to solve in your community. Ultimately, those are the types of grants that we want to look for. And those are the partners. Like those things are going to impact your networking, if that makes sense. If we know the types of grants that you want to apply for in the next 6 to 12 months, we now know who you need to get around. Remember, I was talking about Habitat for Humanity. I need to be around somebody who can offer construction to my young folks who are going through a workforce development program. And then you also get the self-paced course. You may have gotten an email back around Black Friday. This is we work on these 4 pillars: networking before everything. All right. People need to know who you are, what you're doing. You need to build professional trust, clarity, and offers. Like get very clear, very, very, very clear exactly what you want to do. All right. We can't have 15 things going on at once. You just need the one. Then marketing. Okay. Once you have the networking, I put the networking first because when we market, a lot of times we post something on Facebook or we send out an email to the people who already know about us, right? We want to get out to new voices, new people, new faces, right? And so when you have this big network of folks, like I have been cultivating a local email list for years. So when we have something going on, I send them an email once a month with all of our events, and I send them graphics and flyers and things. And then I see it popping up on their Facebooks, on their Instagrams. They're posting up in their offices and things. So it kind of allows me to use their contacts, their Rolodex, so to speak. And then lastly is that funding strategy. So I put the funding strategy last because all these other things need to happen first. If we try to apply for a grant and you don't have the network connection, it's not going to work. Right. Because again, I'm talking about big, $50,000, $20,000, $100,000 grants. Those are the ones that's my specialty. So they have little ones out here for $1,000, $2,000, and I'm not saying you can't apply for them, and they do add up. But if we're looking for it to be a significant stream of revenue in the next 6 to 12 months, those are the things that we're really going to be dissecting and figuring out how we can, position you to apply for them so that you can get them. All right. So the way you can join in on that, there should be an email going out tonight if it hasn't gone out already. You can just send me a message. You guys have my email, or you can go to my website and I will actually. Okay. All right. If nobody has any questions, I will let you guys go and I'll see you guys next month.